Obviously, the teaching today is about talking about us, and we need to bring forth our diligence and our cultivation. So enlightened father saw that his lost son had gradually approached his city. So the metaphor referring to one who has found the path. The room of the Tathagata's Dhammakaya is stately and adorned magnificently, and going to the state of supreme enlightenment that the Buddha has attained. And this is the aspiration, obviously, it will also uphold in the fourth of the four bodhisattva vows. In the state of truth and fearlessness, he can clearly illuminate all capabilities. So if one will to have this aspiration, and the state of truth obviously is for us to seek in the Dharma, to realize the truth, which is in the Dharma. And fearlessness, obviously we have the courage to do so. And sometimes even in our practice, when much that we abide in the Dharma, there are conditions in which we find extremely challenging. I mean, even, I think this is especially even at work, that imagine if everybody were to transgress, and can you then not be part of them? So sometimes when you stand up to the truth, you must be prepared to have courage to stand alone. Seeing his disciples settled in Dharma, he no longer had any worries. So obviously that means they are what has taken on the path, they no longer have any worries. Obviously, what the Buddha said. The question is, we need to grow this capability that we have. And here in illuminating our capabilities, like I said, very often we got to be very mindful. And I think I want to share with you all that in this, my personal observation in life, that I've gone through all my working years, mixing around, traveling. There are three types of people that you'll find that you will face in life, and you reflect upon it. That three, you will always face this. There's one group of people who generally they're honest and good, like you all are in Sochi. There's one group of people who are downright so-called bad or dishonest, and generally you're able to find, you know who they are. So you can, these two groups of people you can pretty much identify. But it's a third group of people that over the years I've learned to understand. And I think this is the part that you can grow in your wisdom life. That's my personal experience. The third group of people are people who would, they're fundamentally good, but they will transgress if given a chance. And that's the one that it's not easy to identify. That's why when they do bad and everybody in the organization does bad, are you prepared, so-called, to stand alone? And that's a question that I think we have to ask ourselves all the time, even in our practice, even in the family of practitioners. That these are the things we must be prepared to have the courage to do so. So our roots of goodness may be limited, right, despite past sequential lives of cultivation, and that's why in all the years and in one of the teaching, I think Master Amos mentioned that the Buddha, even the cultivators and the disciples, have met 20,000 sun, moon, lamp Buddhas. So, and that's the case, the aspiration had been formed at that time. And like Brother Alex said, that over the series of lifetimes, we're part of all the defilements, and so therefore the original aspiration that we have upheld in the past may have already been contaminated, contaminating the pile with all the encrusted defilements that we have. And therefore gradually we have retreated. retreated us from this great aspiration. So I won't run through this elderly Lao Pusa they're talking about, but important, I just want to draw one line at the master in the teaching that she said. But despite all the challenges that she had, and she was very mindful because she was obviously, despite that, he had early on had a good life, but he realized that he was wealthy but wasteful. And these are reflections of her life. He was hunched as he was bowing to the earth, and she pays respect to the food she eats. And so despite all these things, I mean, the thing that I find that in this story is that these are conditions of practice. There's no bad conditions. There's no good condition. Every condition is good if you are in practice. So the practice was pure, like the monastic master said. He never met a master, but as far as master is concerned, he drew the analogy. The master drew the analogy of the father saying the Lord Son that she has returned to the path. So the Lord Son has finally understood the principles. Everyone has the innate enlightenment, and that is innate enlightenment is the absolute truth. That's what we are supposed to seek for, that ultimate truth, and the absolute truth is only the truth. So there's only one truth. So we seek our innate nature of true suchness, which is buried within us. Although we have limited capabilities like the person, we abide in the Dharma. So we take on about this lifetime after lifetime to correct ourselves. And so therefore, what is the, whilst upholding the aspiration, as I've shared with you all, my life goal in this life, my purpose of life is to change my character. So if I can change my character to be better than what I'm born with, I've done as much as I can so that in my next life, I will continue my practice on a stronger foundation with a stronger footing. So we keep on with this path, and one day we'll then unlock the innate potential, and that's what we need to aspire to do that. So in the lessons learned is that we must listen attentively to the Dharma and cultivate if we are to realize the innate potential to gradually grow in realization. So no matter what condition that we may face, we still have to uphold that goodness of the innate nature in us. So this innate nature that we need to uphold, which I'll come to in this slide, which is the selfless nature, right? I'll explain to you on that. We all should then form aspiration like the analogy of the poor son. So in the parable, it says that later part in the teaching, it says, quickly dispatch attendants to urgently chase and bring the poor son back. Short and bewildered, the son shouted, I have nothing wrong, I've done nothing wrong. Now, this is not my master said, this is an analogy to Sister Dharma vehicle teaching, because dispatching the attendants is to deliver that with Dharma vehicle to the poor son, now that the poor son has returned. But then he said, I have done nothing wrong. So yes, that state meaning the poor son hasn't realized yet that the great Dharma, great vehicle teaching is there. So we must search our minds to understand the great vehicle, that the vehicle is already here, the teachings are already here, so that we can apply the Dharma to unlock ourselves. So what is it that we are unlocking? So taking the Dharma to heart is to unlock the innate potential through the selfless nature. Now this
We have lost BrotherChin. Everyone can hear? Oh.
I think we lost him.
Yeah.
Maybe give him a minute or two for him to sign back.
Yeah.
Last slide on lessons learned, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So here we are, back to the lessons learned about the selfless nature, right? I was in a part on this, was I explained about selfless nature? So this selfless nature that we supposed to undertake is that so that we can realize the non-self. So in realizing the non-self, we then really need to drop off all our self desires that we have, and they're going to be very mindful in that cultivation. That means, we must prepare. I was commenting on Brother Robert's Chinese name about being a soldier. This is a spiritual warrior spirit that we have. We need to conquer ourselves. Very often we have been taught in the world is to conquer others so that we become the number one. Try to conquer ourselves. That is the part that the world never taught us. And it's what teaching today, Master Challenge. You want to eliminate our capabilities. The capability is to conquer ourselves. So the bodhisattvas are like attendants serving the Buddha. And it's not much like attendance to the Buddha. Attendant meaning you're serving the Buddha. Serving the Buddha, you give rise to the bodhicitta, walking on the bodhisattva path. So serving the Buddha is being entrusted with the Dharma to propagate, which is what Master is doing to us right now throughout her life. So we must follow the path and keep up. Master say, and in the text there, it says, Master cannot keep looking back. So if she's leading the way, we have to keep up with our pace in our practice. So in contemplation, be mindful that you are a householder and the spiritual journey ahead of us are treacherous. Because we are not monastic, the journey is even more treacherous, right? Because so many samsaric delights hanging in front of us. So for it is laced with worldly matters that only the illumination of the Dharma eyes can see the wisdom. I just give you an example of the three types of people in the world. There's a third group of people that's not easy to see. You never know what it is until the condition arises and you realize, and because you're with them, and it can be easily swept away. And that's why we got to be very mindful and be able to see. So your inner faculties will develop with the elevated consciousness that will continue to advance. So the inner faculties is about it's the illumination within, that your inner seeing, instead of seeing with your eyes, will develop with the elevated consciousness that I explained to you all, by changing that character in you to grow in the seven consciousness, that will then continue to advance and be consciously aware of your inner developments and that is within us. So the illumination have to come within yourself, which is your inner development, so that your progress then will ever be joyful, hopeful, peaceful, loving, and knowing. And that's your inner illumination. So on relationship, again, a little bit long today, about controlling relationship. So do not try to control people. They can govern themselves. That is the way in the flow of life. So we need to understand life and people. If everyone is a sutra, imagine if Master said everyone is a sutra, then we look at it, what can we learn from that person? So we need to understand our life as well as people and their life. So those who claim to know others are obviously, they're knowledgeable. But one who understands oneself is wise, because then we know, we see things with a discerning mind. So do not impose upon others to change. When you meddle with their life, the more restless they will become. They will grow to, if you can show them the way, they will grow. You can't force the person. So leave them alone and they will change. They change because they see you as an exemplary life. So one who points the way for others know their hearts. Such one illuminates, but be humble. So one who overcomes the stubborn with softness and remaining low. Okay, brothers and sisters, that's for the day.
Yes, pardon again, Brother Chin.